Good evening. Welcome to Truth Seekers. My name is Mike Fishkin. I am here tonight again with Jay Saylor. It is July 26, 2008. And so if you guys are watching in Portland tonight, July 26, 2008, Saturday night, you can call in. The phone number should be up there on the screen. And there's two numbers. And we'd love to talk to you about spiritual matters, especially those of you who are seeking spiritual truth, or if you have something you want to add and contribute to the program relating to spiritual truth seeking, that's great. Last week we had a great program. We showed some film. Joe Schimmel, we've shown some great films of Joe Schimmel's group, Good Fight Ministries. They've done some really great film in terms of showing how easy it is for us to be deceived. I was deceived up until I was 29 about spiritual matters. You were deceived, Jay, till you're 35. Mm-hmm. And this film just gets into it in terms of Hollywood and the fact that a lot of people in Hollywood have been deceived and are spreading certain things in terms of violence, the influence in film and violence. We showed these copycat murderers confessing that they had seen this type of murder committed on either TV or in the movies, and they said, hey, I think I can get away with that, I'll try that. And just last week we talked about these guys who tried to steal rare manuscripts in England because they'd watched Ocean's 11 and they thought they could get away with it. And how Satan is using people, unbeknownst to the people, to get us into a more violent aptitude as a race throughout the earth, and especially in the West, and how film has influenced and has great influence in culture. I mean, we've seen film in the past. We've shown film clips of Adolf Hitler talking and his people talking about the importance of film in getting the German people to follow suit and accept their programs.
Yeah, just to draw an analogy, Mike, we can throw in, our time in grade school and high school, and the best teaching tools were those media clips that would influence us in our thinking. And so it's very persuasive to our mind and subtly to our spirit. In teaching us and influencing us into, again, the goal of the devil is to seek whom he may devour and destroy and deceive. And we're going to talk about this later, as we talked about it before, Mike. The whole purpose is to bring us to that point of rejecting God. What is Hollywood's biggest motive?
Satan,
and we're gonna
Satan wants us to do that because he wants us all to end up following him as opposed to God.
Right.
So.
In Hollywood, you're going to hear some speakers tonight, I believe.
Yeah.
Some screenwriters and directors talk about the sole purpose of them. Is it's all against Christians and no one else.
Not all. We'll get to that. Let's hold that. I'm going to read a quote in a minute, and then we'll go to this first section of film, which is about 6 minutes long. But before I read this quote, last week we asked the question, I want to ask it for the next few weeks at least. We feel, people ask, can you prove that God exists? And we think, yeah, we can prove, it can be proven. That's not the problem. It's our heart is the problem. But the fulfilled prophecy, 100% fulfilled prophecy about cities and nations, we talk a lot about that. That proves it. But here's another one. If you can prove this wrong, I'd like to hear from you. We mentioned it, as you remember last week. And that is the Jewish people, since the Passover, since they left Egypt on the Passover and, the Red Sea parted and all those miracles were done, every year since then, they've been celebrating that event. Now the question is, how could that not have happened? How could a whole nation be celebrating an event that supposedly they've celebrated every year since it started? How could that be brought to a nation of thousands of people or millions of people if they hadn't been doing it? And if they hadn't seen all those incredible miracles? And so God says to look to the prophecies he gives and also to look to what's gone before. And I think that's one of the things he's referring to, because it's repeated often in Scripture, referring back to the Exodus and the incredible stuff that God did to choose just a few people for his own. So if you can disprove that as a proof of God's existence, of the supernatural, I'd like to hear it. I don't think it can be disproven, but maybe, it can, I don't know. In any case, the quote I was going to read, getting back to the subject matter at hand in terms of this film on Hollywood, this is a quote by a guy named David Franzoni, and he was a screenwriter for the Gladiators movie that won a lot of awards recently, a couple years ago. And he said, every culture, in order to justify mass killings, has to classify their victims as less than human. And we're going to see if some group of people is being classified in a negative light. And Hitler, we've shown film in the past, Jay. You remember Jews being depicted by Hitler as vermin, as lice, and that it's no more than delousing society to get rid of all the Jews. And you're going to hear a quote on this 6-minute section of film by a well-known New Ager who says basically the same thing, except now cancer is more the vogue as opposed to lice. And she says it's, just getting rid of cancer cell, to get rid of a quarter of the Earth's population. So,
and what group of people was she specifically speaking about?
Well, we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Okay.
But so this is a 6-minute clip of film, and then after that 6 minutes, we'll be back with you, and you can call up if you're here in the Portland area and you see that number. If you see that number up on there and you know it's the 26th of July, 2008, you can call. So we'll see you in about 6 minutes after this 6-minute clip.
Return, Jesus foretold, they will deliver you to tribulation and will kill you, and you will be hated by all nations on account of my name. The book of Revelation confirms that we are headed toward a radical persecution of believers as the kingdom of Antichrist will kill innumerable numbers of people who hold to the testimony of Jesus. The book of Revelation states of the Antichrist that it was given to him to make war with the saints and to overcome them, and also that as many as do not worship the beast, to be killed. John the Apostle was shown a great multitude in heaven and was informed, these are the ones who have come out of the great tribulation, and they have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. Today, many New Age groups consider Christians to be subhuman obstacles that must be annihilated. New Age leader and former Democratic vice presidential candidate Barbara Marx Hubbard made the following statements in regards to eliminating those who oppose the New Age philosophy. People will either change or die. That is the choice. They must surely die or change. This act is as horrible as killing a cancer cell. Be prepared for the selection process, which is now beginning. The destructive 1/4 must be eliminated from the social body. Another New Age leader, Ruth Montgomery, declared of Christians and those who stand in the way of the New Age movement, quote, millions of people will not survive the transition into the New Age, unquote.
Satan represents the powers of force in nature, and we feel that a cleansing of the idiot ideology of the pallid, incompetent Christ is in order.
This should not come as a surprise, for as recently as the last century, an entire race of people were persecuted and hunted for liquidation.
Under Adolf Hitler, the Nazis gave us the Holocaust. Mass murder carried out with cruel, cold-blooded efficiency. They did it for years before anyone stopped them, and they came very close to finishing the job.
Fred Gilbert was tortured by the Nazis for 5.5 years. He now pleads with future generations to be cautious about who they follow and submit to.
The reason I'm talking to you, and I was willing to say this, is for people to remember the atrocities which you went through, and especially for the young people, which they were born after the war, to learn a lesson from that. They should learn not to follow the wrong leaders.
Sadly, the warnings from this man's life will be snubbed as the world at large will follow a destructive leader into the New Age.
You have built a magnificent house for me. My soul leaps to see all that has been accomplished. For I have said in my heart, I will ascend to heaven, and it has come to pass. I will raise my throne above the stars of God.
According to biblical prophecy, this era of the New Age is commandeered by the Antichrist, who is also called the man of sin, the son of destruction. His kingdom will be a political one. The book of Revelation says that it was given to him to make war with the saints and to overcome them, and authority over every tribe, people, tongue, and nation was given to him. We are also told that his kingdom is a spiritual